Okay, so welcome back to class. Does anybody want to make presentations? We've had 3 or 4 presentations so far. Anybody favor? Oh, we're only 4. We're still only 4 in the class. Let's just wait a little for the other people. They are joining now. We're now 5.
Sorry, sir. I sent you a direct message. I don't know if you got it.
Okay, let me see.
All right. That was in the first discussion.
Okay. Oh, no. No, I don't see it. I don't see it. Is it today you did, sir? Mr. Manuel? Oh, I saw your greetings in the morning.
Yeah,
Okay,
after my greetings.
okay. I could see, okay, about a copy of my book.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, okay. You mean that book where I
They were,
pulled out comfortably?
yes, yes, yes.
That can be arranged. That can be
Okay,
arranged. That can be arranged. We ship it to you. You can contact me later. We speak
okay.
more about it, yes. We speak more about
If,
it.
if you can, if you don't mind, if I can have your number.
My number?
Yeah.
Oh, my number is on WhatsApp. We have even
Uh,
interacted 0805
okay.
0805
Yeah.
770
770
yes 2787
2782.
87.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Funke, do you have any presentation to make? Favor, do you have?
So my presentation is not as apt and proper as theirs, so I would
Okay,
refrain from presenting. Thank you, sir.
it's all right. Thank you. Mercy, do you have any presentation?
Well, we are yet to fine-tune our presentation.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
Madam Funke.
yes, sir.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you. Okay, Mercy. Okay. While we wait for others, I think it's in order if we go ahead with the next module. So when other people join and they have presentations, we can take them after the module. Is that okay by us?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
okay, thank you. Let me share a slide with us and then we proceed with the presentation. Sorry, just um, I'm still looking for one, two, three. This is it. Okay, I found it. Can we see the? Can we see my screen? Can we see my screen now?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. So if we check our program, the timetable, what we have to talk about now, the presentation of the module now is module 7, which is an overview of dispute resolution, dispute settlement, conflict resolution, conflict management, and conflict transformation. As conflict managers, it's important for us to have a theoretical understanding of each of these concepts and methods of conflict management. Dispute settlement is not the same thing as conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is not the same thing as conflict management, and conflict resolution or management is not the same thing as conflict transformation. Each of them, there are different methods by which we handle conflicts. At least two of them, referring strictly to conflict resolution and conflict management, sometimes we use them interchangeably, which gives us problems. But another problem is that these two concepts and methods, we also use each of them in two different senses, in at least two different ways. And for beginner conflict managers, it may constitute a kind of confusion. That is why I want to use this module to clarify the confusion in the terminologies and the confusion that might come up in the processes. When we did the first module, key concepts in conflict management, in peace and conflict management, we made a distinction between disputes and conflict. We said disputes are over negotiable interests, conflicts are much more difficult than that. Disputes sometimes can be easily resolved, unlike conflict. So that kind of clarification is what we want to do. Yeah, but beyond the clarification in terminologies, we want to also show how these methods are different from one another. So, Paul J.P. Lidrak, one of the foremost scholars in peace studies, says terminology that dominates a field or discipline evolves with the changing conceptual processes of its practitioners. Such is the case particularly in the area of conflict resolution. In other words, as the field grows, as practitioners in the field, as they also grow with the field, the terms, some concepts they use may also change with time. And that has happened to us, especially in the field of peace and conflict studies, as you will see. For instance, in peace studies, what we call peace studies today, or peace and conflict studies, was originally called peace research. Peace research. That's why we have IPRA, International Peace Research Association, which is one of the oldest, about the oldest global association of peace workers. They call it International Peace Research Association. But now we no longer call the field peace research, we call it peace studies. Something has changed, nomenclature has changed. So also some of the terms and methods we want to look at, their usage have changed with time. So we're going to start with dispute and conflict. As said earlier, disputes are over incompatibility or disagreement over negotiable interest. So they lend themselves to being easily resolvable, easy settlement, at least relatively easier settlement through negotiation, mediation, adjudication, and so on. However, conflicts are more difficult because many times conflict stems from non-negotiable issues. As we have seen when we were explaining the reasons why we have conflict, these issues could be over human needs, it could be over moral differences, it could be over values, or over high stakes distributional issues about resources, water, or land, which are natural resources, or even money. So, and in in a case of conflict, we will have many disputes. We have some disputes in a particular case of conflict. This dispute can be settled as we progress towards conflict resolution. So dispute settlement is the working out of mutually satisfactory agreements between the parties involved. The primary concern here is to uphold established social norms of right and wrong, and it is aimed at bringing a dispute to an end without necessarily changing the fundamental causes. So, dispute is not necessarily concerned with the causes of the issue, the causes of the situation. So, that shows that once the causes are not addressed, we may settle a particular episode of dispute permanently, while another one will come up again since we are not addressing the underlying issues. Conflict resolution, on the other hand, I said earlier that there are two problems with the term conflict or with the phrase conflict resolution, and this is one of them. At the earliest development or evolution of the field of peace studies or peace and conflict resolution field, we use the word or the term rather, the phrase conflict resolution to refer to a field of endeavor that is concerned with handling conflict. At the same time, we had a field that was concerned with promoting peace, investigating peace. These two fields now came together, or let me say, the conflict resolution field was now subsumed under peace studies field to give us peace and conflict resolution or peace and conflict studies. Originally, conflict resolution, which started from the field of organizational behavior, bargaining, and so on and so forth, and psychology, while peace studies came from, works of people like John Galton, who are sociologists, economists, and so on and so forth. So that is one of the reasons. The fact that we use the phrase to refer to a field is part of the confusion in the usage today. So nowadays, when you hear the word conflict resolution, sometimes people use it to mean a field or a subfield of peace studies. Whereas, we can also use it to refer to a particular method of handling conflict with its own internal logic and focus. But here, I want to talk about it as a conflict handling method, as a method to responding to conflicts. We are not using it in reference to conflict. So, when you engage people, when you read books, you come across people using it in different ways. The context of the usage we let you know the manner or the meaning that they feel, the phrase is being used. Okay, so conflict resolution as a method for responding to conflict refers to efforts to address the underlying causes of a conflict. So dispute settlement is not concerned with the underlying causes. Conflict resolution addresses itself to the underlying causes of a conflict by trying to find common interests and overarching goals of the parties. So when we talk about, okay, determine the interest, do conflict analysis, determine the interest and the needs, and it's on the basis of this that we can resolve. Yes, we are talking about conflict resolution. It includes fostering positive attitudes. Excuse me, I want to check. Okay. It includes fostering positive attitudes and generating trust through reconciliation initiatives and building or strengthening the institutions and processes through which the parties interact peacefully. So you see, this goes beyond mere settling differences or settling issues or settling disputes. We want to address the causes. We want to look at strengthening institutions or processes that can lead to peaceful interaction among parties. So, conflict resolution involves recognition by the clashing parties of one another's interests, needs, perspectives, and continued existence. You see, the parties must get to a stage, we must move the parties to a stage where they acknowledge the legitimacy of the other party's interests, the legitimacy of the other party's needs, perspectives, and their continued existence, for us to make the parties willing, for the parties to be willing to make trade-offs, for the parties to be willing to negotiate an agreement that will at least address as many of the interests and needs of the other parties, of all the parties as possible. So that is conflict resolution. Is not limited, but it includes things like cooperation, non-confrontation, non-competition, and positive sum orientation, not zero sum. Not you win, I win, you lose. No, kind of orientation, but we can win together. That is conflict resolution. So we negotiate, we mediate, also to help us reach amicable agreement among the parties. So, as a conflict manager, there are cases which will require you to adopt dispute settlements. But there are instances where you need to go beyond dispute settlements to conflict resolution. So, conflict resolution is more than satisfying parties' interests. As of course in dispute settlement, it involves identifying and dealing with the underlying sources of the conflict. So it goes beyond settling disputes to negotiating interests to meet all sides' basic needs, while it also finds a way to respect their underlying values and identities. So while we use mediation and negotiation in dispute settlements, we also use it in conflict resolution. So when we have cases of people, maybe community people, and they take the case to the palace, and the traditional ruler or his representative are only interested in stopping what this person does not like and doing this, they may just be at the surface of dispute settlements. all they may do there may be dispute settlement. But when they dig, or any process that digs to the level of discovering the underlying causes, is going beyond dispute settlement to conflict resolution. So conflict resolution requires a more analytical problem-solving approach than dispute settlement. You see, we're comparing the two. It requires more analytical problem-solving approach than dispute settlement. The main difference is that resolution requires identifying the causal factors behind the conflict and finding ways to deal with them. Dispute settlement aims at ending a dispute as quickly and amicably as possible. Therefore, it is possible to settle a dispute that exists within the context of a larger conflict without resolving the overall conflict. This is one of the reasons we have the issue of intractable or protracted conflict. People settle disputes, they think they have resolved conflicts. However, dispute settlement can be seen, in some particular cases, can be seen as first aid. First aid. You know, sometimes you need to give first aid before you can take patients or victims for proper medical attention. And sometimes those first aid are critical. Without them, the patient will not even make it to the hospital or where they will receive medical attention. So we are not saying dispute settlement should be overlooked or relegated. It is only important that conflict managers knows which is appropriate for what. Which is appropriate for what. For instance, issues that have become recurrent between closely knitted people, you may find out that you may need to do conflict resolution rather than dispute settlement. Issues with people who are not so knitted, who are not in a close relationship, who may never see themselves again, you may just leave it at dispute settlement. But beyond that too, even people that have close relationship, if those issues are over negotiable interest, dispute settlement can handle it. Part of the training of any good professional is to know what to apply to what, which method to be used for what. And that is what this movie is trying to do for us. Now we come to conflict management, and this involves, okay, before I go into it, the same thing that applies to conflict resolution applies to conflict management as well. It is used to refer to the whole field, peace and conflict management. And it's also used in the sense of a method for responding to conflict. So we are looking at it in that second sense. So in that sense, it involves the control, but not resolution, of a long-term or deep-rooted conflict. Is the approach taken when complete resolution seems to be impossible, yet something needs to be done. We cannot resolve this thing, but we need to do something. So in conflict management, we attempt to manage the situation in ways that make it more constructive and less destructive. So one of the terms we learned, the first day, that is negative peace. Example of which is a ceasefire, or curfew. When government impose curfew, yes, the curfew is not addressing the underlying causes, but we need a safe environment to be able to sit around the table and work out these people's differences and resolve the conflict. So we need conflict management in such situation. In this sense, conflict management is also seen like a first aid. Let us manage this situation. Yes, we cannot get all the parties together for now, but there is something we can do, separate them. Two people fighting with bottle, maybe stick. They want to hit themselves with bottle and sticks and knife. While they are doing that, you can't start telling them, what are your interests? What are your needs? You can't do that. What you need to do first, separate them. Either by appealing to them or forcefully separate them. Collect these dangerous things from them. And then you can talk to them. By collecting those dangerous things from them, by separating them, what you are doing, in a sense, is conflict management. Before you now sit them down and start talking to them, why is this happening? What can you do? Then you can now say, okay, let's do dispute settlements. These are complete strangers, they never meet again. Oh, these are closely related people, and this thing has been recurrent. Let's do conflict resolution. So things like peacekeeping, peace enforcement, they are examples of conflict management, because we do them, we put them in place in order to calm the situation, in order to ensure that hostility does not continue. Physical violence does not continue. And in some situations, conflict management even goes beyond using it as a first aid. Sometimes that is the only option we have. It may be the permanent solution or near permanent solution. In cases like Israeli-Palestinian war conflicts, because these people have deep-rooted fundamental value differences, non-negotiable things. One is saying, you have, at least at the beginning, Israel was saying, this is our ancestral land, home. And we came back to it, we must occupy it. Palestinians saying, no, you drove out our people, you don't have any right to that land. And there are still some states, some nations that believe that Israel should not exist as a country, as a state. Some of them are even close to Israel. You cannot, or you may not be able to make those people change their views or their values. The best you may be able to do in such situation is to just manage the conflict, making sure that it doesn't deteriorate into violence, or if it has deteriorated into violence, reducing the negative impact it's having on the child. Okay, so conflict resolution and conflict management. We have said that in conflict resolution, we go deep. We go deep. We want to look at the causes of the conflict. The reason we may not address underlying causes of conflict may be this: they are embedded in institutional structure of society. Maybe the differences between those two societies are, those two communities are so entrenched in the foundation of the society. You can't make Hausa community in the middle belt of Nigeria in the same community with non-Hausa Christians. Hausa are generally Muslims. I mean, there's no way you can negotiate them changing either their religion or their identity or some things that define their identities. And also, it can require making significant socio-economic or political changes that restructure society in a more just or inclusive way. So it may mean, trying to do resolution or addressing underlying causes of conflict may mean that we get to the very, very foundation of the society, changing constitutions and so on and so forth, changing the way people look at things. So That is why we rather do conflict management than conflict resolution. We will not be able to afford, both in resources and time and all those to cross, we will not be able to afford conflict resolution in certain instances. Okay, I will say this. Okay, conflict management eventually support the longer term development of societal systems and institutions that enhance good governance, rule of law, and so on and so forth. So when we use conflict management as a stopgap or as a first aid, then on its basis, it becomes a foundation for longer term things, peacemaking and so on. These are examples of conflict management. I mentioned peacekeeping before, but also peacemaking. Peacemaking is about let's halt the violence that is ongoing and create space where we can negotiate peace. Okay, now I want to take us to conflict transformation. See, this is deeper than conflict resolution. Dispute settlement, basic, conflict management, conflict resolution, conflict transformation. The term was coined by J.P. Mitra that it may not be able to resolve all conflicts. We may need to do some extra things for us to be able to transform the conflict. It's like making the conflict to change form, to metamorphose into something new. And conflict transformation has its own logic. I hinted on that in the second module when I was presenting on understanding conflicts. When I used the illustration or the analogy of waste to wealth. Waste to wealth. What would you do if people are using your restroom without consulting you, and then later, definitely you'll be very angry. A stranger just walking by, open your door to the guest room, guest restroom, and this is without anything. But they are not. But if you know that for every stranger that uses that place, you are getting 1 kg of cooking gas. 1 kg goes for close to 1,000 naira now. And I remember then that, I think it's Mr. Emmanuel that said, we will build more restrooms. Somebody probably here or in another workshop said, I will put signpost outside. So a woman said, I will be giving them soft drinks as they come. You see, that was when I hinted on conflict transformation. Conflict transformation has a unique way of seeing conflict. It sees conflict as something that has the potential for constructive change. You see conflict as waste to wealth. This thing has enormous potential that we can harness for creative solutions to improve relationships. So that is the orientation that conflict transformation takes about conflict. And that is why in intractable conflicts, in communal conflicts, in conflicts that are complex, especially involving closely knitted people or over issues like values and so on and so forth, the best approach might be conflict transformation. And one of the reasons rather, that some conflicts have become recurrent is because people have used other methods apart from conflict transformation to address them. There are conflicts or disputes that dispute settlement we handle. There are places where we use conflict management. There are places where conflict resolution will work, but in very complex cases of conflict, especially conflict that is relationship based, you may want to transform, not use conflict transformation. I said earlier that it has its own logic. Before I go into the logic of conflict transformation, I need to say, just like I said that disputes, there may be many disputes in a particular conflict. Yes, we have to do dispute settlement in a particular case of conflict resolution. In conflict transformation, you need to do many conflict resolution, dispute settlement, and conflict management. So conflict management is a long-term thing. We don't want a quick fix. So conflict transformation pursues the development of change processes which explicitly focus on creating positives from the difficult or negative. So conflict transformation sees conflict as something to be embraced, something natural, something that gives profound opportunities for creating change, for creating a future that we desire. In conflict transformation, conflict is seen to bring about change on 4 different modes at the level of the personal. In other words, when there is conflict transformation believes that, it has the orientation that the conflict, through the process of conflict transformation, we should be able to affect people, to bring about changes in individuals. We see the kind of changes we desire in the individuals very soon. We should be able to bring about changes in people's relationship. We should be able to bring about changes in the structure of the society, the structure of the organization, and also we should be able to bring about changes in the culture of people. So when a conflict manager decides to adopt conflict transformation, he will set out strategies to positively impact people in the conflict at the individual level and on their relationship. We want to impact the structure of their societies, of their organization, and also on the cultural level. So let's see the kind of changes desired at these 4 levels. At the personal level, it refers to changes effected and desired for the individual. These changes include cognitive. It wants to teach, add knowledge. Also, emotional level, want to affect their emotions, their perceptual, and their spiritual aspects of human experience about the conflict. So that is where and why things like metaphor, knowing about the history of the place you want to intervene in, knowing their cultural practices, knowing things in their language and that you can use to impact on them is important. You are a conflict manager, you are intervening in a conflict between Christians. There are things you can draw from the Bible. There are characters you can draw that can help you. Though maybe the organization call you to do that. They will help you settle the difference between their workers. But the fact that they are Christian, they are Catholic, they belong to the same religion, there are things you can draw to impact them at the personal level. Relational dimension. how do we want to impact them? What impact do we want to have on them? And how do we want, what's the kind of the desired future in them? Both in the face-to-face relationships, what kind of changes do you want to bring about? Emotions, power, interdependence, and communication and interactive aspects of conflict are key here. So conflict between a man and a woman, a man and his wife, we want to examine the power balance. We want to look at how interdependent they are, how fair that arrangement is for all the parties involved. Also, on the structural level, we want to, we said a lot about structure, the underlying causes of conflict. We want to look at the way social structures, organizations, institutions are built, sustained, and changed by conflict. In some situations, we find that in some organizations or in some context, either organizations or community that we are brought into manage the conflict, they will have had what I refer to as conflict capital. Conflict capital, what I call conflict capital is that, the total, the accumulation of the experience, expertise, weapons, or whatever that people have acquired in conflict. Conflicts change us, especially violent conflicts. So I call those things, for instance, if a community has never been in violent conflict, the moment they start being in violent conflict, there are some capacities for violence they will have developed. There are some levels of tolerance for violence they will have developed. These are the things I refer to as conflict capital, such that when they want to they have conflict, they can easily mobilize these resources, unlike another community that has not done that before. So these are the things we want to look at. How has conflict changed these people over time? Many years ago, I met a Niger Delta lady, I think from UI, and we were working together in UI. We were doing masters together in this. Or she can do something. I don't know. Then we had this sudden explosion. Boom! And we need to see the way many people scrambled or were shot. But this fair lady was just like walking over and she said, why all you people do like this? Say, come to the Niger Delta. Where gunshots has become like a knock on the door. He was shot. She has grown accustomed. The people there, it was during the militancy, period of Niger Delta militancy. They have grown accustomed to it, such that when they hear the gunshots, it doesn't mean anything. That is part of their conflict repertoire, conflict capital. So, conflict transformation, we want to engage these structures, how conflict has built, sustained, and changed social structures, organizations, institutions. In fact, some of these entities, they have grown so used to this change brought about by conflict that it has now become to them like themselves. They no longer know or realize that the conflict has changed them. It happens to individuals as well. A family may be so affected. A neighborhood may be so affected. But when we now want to adopt conflict transformation for in such situations, we need to be sensitive to how conflict has built its infrastructure, its culture, and these people. The structural dimension also refers to how people build and organize their social, economic, and institutional relationships to meet basic human needs. do these institutions, laws, policies, do they support or do they distribute human needs, things to meet human needs equitably, or are they depriving some people? Do people have access to resources and to making decisions that affect them? Now we move to the cultural dimension, which refers to the ways that conflict changes the patterns of group life. You know, that will come also from the structure as I've just discussed. How does culture affect the way things are done? How does culture affect the way development, whether physical or human, is done? Hello? You said? Madam, Madam and Joy. Madam Joy. Madam Joy Oko. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I thought you wanted to ask a question before. Thank you for muting. Are we following me, please?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Great. So we see that when we adopt the conflict transformation approach, we are looking at 4 areas where conflict impacts, and we want to bring about changes in these areas. So conflict transformation is a process of engaging with and transforming the relationships, interests, discourses, and if necessary, the very constitution of society that supports the continuation of violent conflict. Everything in a situation, everything in the context of conflict that supports or that make violent conflicts likely, that increases the likelihood of violent conflict, that increases the possibility that people want to settle their incompatibility or their differences through violence. These are the things we address when we adopt conflict transformation. We look at the structural roots of conflict by changing the existing patterns of behavior and creating a culture of non-violence. You see, it's like bringing together, in conflict transformation, bringing together everything you have been learning in this course. Looking at the structure, you do your analysis, you identify every area, every strand of whatever that is contributing to violent conflict. You want to address them. That is why I said it's a long-term thing. So, conflict transformation uses an integrated approach, like a system approach to peace building. And the aim is to bring about long-term changes at these 4 areas: the personal, the relational, structural, and cultural. So in conflict transformation, you may realize that you need to teach people about conflict, about this, about that, about communication, about negotiation, about mediation, in order to affect their persons, their relationship, the structure of which the society is built, and also their culture. That is why when I'm involved in communal conflict, in mediating communal conflict or managing communal conflict, I want to adopt conflict transformation. And I don't just want to go there with our team and say, okay, let's people come together, sit, What are the issues? No, beyond that. It goes far beyond that. If you want this thing to be permanently managed, taken care of, you want to transform that thing from the negative. You want to transform it from something that's been claiming properties, claiming life, like a god or goddess that they have sacrificed people's lives to, people's ambitions, people's dreams to. And I want to change it to something that will be producing value to everybody concerned. If that's the plan or your goal, you cannot do it anyhow. You cannot do it anyhow. And many times I recommend, when you want to bring these parties together, after they have agreed, you have to take them to certain basic workshop. We call it either conflict resolution workshop, where we teach them what some of the things we are teaching. Teach them how to communicate. Yes, because the negotiation we want to facilitate will be done through communication. So we want to tell them the danger of just saying things anyhow. We want to teach them this conflict analysis. This is how you identify your interests and your needs and articulate them. In fact, by the time we involve them in conflict analysis, their capacity is being built. So when we now finally come to negotiation table, most of them have acquired the basic knowledge of conflict analysis, communication in conflict, how to focus on your interests and your needs, and how to collaborate, because this is a relationship that is valuable. We are neighbors. Maybe our towns, they are brothers. They were founded by two brothers. One community cannot move for the other community. We are going to be in close proximity for whatever, for forever. We have shared history. So by the time we come to the round table, people are down to, or rather they have converted their weapons of war to weapons of peace, to weapons of development. And conflict transformation has the orientation that in every conflict situation we come into, there exists those things we call local capacities for peace. Some things are still functioning. We, the conflict managers, we shouldn't go into those communities with this sense of, I'm the Messiah, I'm coming to deliver you. In fact, it will be so wrong. You may be an expert in conflict management. You may have degrees, certificates, and so on in conflict management, but you are not an expert in that particular conflict. The people who have been living in the conflict for years, I'm currently involved in a communal conflict that has been for 200 years. That conflict is older than my grandfather, if he was alive now. My grandfather, that conflict is almost double his age. People have lived there. They are the experts. If you recognize them as such, they have the capacity many times to solve their own problem. Those things they need to solve the problem, they are locked up somewhere in there. You only come here to unlock it. They have creative ideas on how to solve it, their problems. The problem here is that because of emotions and because of threats, and they have to respond, because of the conflict behavior between them and the other party, they do not have the time, or they don't know that they have the solution or the time to bring about the solution. But when they sit with you many times, while you listen to them actively and empathically, you see that they are telling you the solution, and they're telling you the problem. So, excuse me, you shouldn't go there thinking We have the solution. They don't. Even if it is a family dispute, the wife and the husband, they know themselves better than you. They have had time to think about their problem. They have slept over the problem. They have tried some alternatives. They know more than us, conflict management. So when we enter a conflict context with the mindset of transforming it, we want to recognize that there exists in this place local capacities for peace. These individuals, they have certain things that can contribute to peace. Our job is to create this space and inspire them to bring these solutions to us. So, in conclusion, conflicts are complex phenomena and require carefully planned intervention by interveners. The conflict transformation approach presents a useful framework for creating sustainable peace. An intervener needs to acquire and apply the transformation orientation and perspective to move beyond conflict resolution to conflict transformation in many conflicts. There are specific principles in conflict transformation which are not included here because this is basic. This is basic. For instance, the orientation of conflict transformation, the ebb and flow, opportunity, life-giving opportunities, all these things we are taking one after the other if we had the time, and if this wasn't a basic course. This is a foundation course. When we do higher courses, we go through conflict transformation in details, what we do. But suffices to know now that the major thing about conflict transformation is its orientation about conflict, the way it looks at conflict. It sees conflict as something that has potential for constructive change. It sees some conflict like waste to wealth. You can draw a lot of positive out of this thing. And that is its attitude to conflict. Okay, let's compare conflict resolution and conflict transformation. The key question is one of the parameters I want to look at in comparing the two. The key question that conflict resolution has is, how do we end something that is not desired? Ending something that is not desired. Whereas conflict transformation says how to end something destructive and build something desired. It doesn't stop at ending negatives. It also includes building positives, constructing positive. The focus of conflict resolution is, it is centered on the content, the issues in the conflict, the substance of the conflict. Whereas conflict transformation is centered on the relationship of the parties. Because the conflict transformation, everything revolves around the relationship. The conflict also is a product of the relationship. So, the focus of conflict resolution is to achieve, the purpose of conflict resolution, rather, is to achieve an agreement and solution to the problem that is creating the crisis. Whereas the purpose of conflict transformation is to promote constructive change processes. Let's change the dynamics. Let's set in motion. Let's create space for those things that can bring constructive change. Let's put them in motion. It is not limited to immediate solution Conflict transformation is not limited to immediate solution. Conflict resolution, it's a way of looking at the development of the process. Its process. The process of conflict resolution is embedded and built around the immediacy of the relationship where the present problems appear. The problem is between the husband and wife. Let's sort it out there. Whereas transformation is concerned with responding to symptoms and engaging in larger system within which the relationship is embedded. It not only address the relationship, but other things influencing these relationships and relationship is also addressed. Conflict resolution is short-term in time frame, whereas conflict transformation is mid to long range. How does conflict resolution view conflict? It sees conflict as something we need to de-escalate. Conflict resolution sees conflict as something we need to quickly handle, de-escalate the hostility there, and so on and so forth. Whereas transformation sees conflict as a dynamic of dynamic of ebb and flow, just like the waves of the sea, is natural. The dynamic of ebb and flow, our relationship is there, so conflict is just a natural part of it. You can have some episodes of it, and then, the thing is moving in and moving out, not something we need to terminate. Excuse me. Okay. When we want to resolve conflict, because many conflicts we engage as conflict managers will require resolution. What are the fundamental principles? How do we do it in practice? Okay, there are 6 fundamental strategies when we want to resolve conflict. The first thing is we want to reach agreement with the parties on rules and procedures. Things where we meet, for how long we'll be meeting, things we can do during the meeting and things we cannot do. Number 2, sorry, is showing as number 1. I read that. We want to reduce tension and control, synchronize the de-escalation of hostility. You don't want to be, asking somebody to stop hostility, whereas the other party is continuing hostility. Some of us would have suffered that in the past. 2, you are fighting with someone, maybe punching, all those things, and they now grab you. That moment that they grab you, to hold you, to stop, nobody is grabbing the other fellow. And that one just throw a slap or a punch on you back. And before you can retaliate, you can't even retaliate because they're still holding you, and then they now hold you too. You now hold the opponents, but you can't throw back your punch. So it's 1-0. So we can't afford to do that in conflict. We want to synchronize the escalation of hostility. Number 3, we want to improve the accuracy of communication between or among the parties. This is where things like active listening and telling the parties also to adopt active listening, empathic listening. The purpose is we want to improve their understanding of each other. We want them to listen to other parties and want them to be listened to, so that they will hear the interest and needs of the other party. as they communicate it. So you see, communication is central. Improve the accuracy of communication. Number 4, control the number and sizes of issues in the discussion. 5, we establish common ground where parties can find a basis for agreement. This is where we do trade-offs. This is where we do negotiation. And then finally, number 6, we enhance the desirability of the options and alternatives that each party presents to the other. In other words, we help parties package what they are offering to the other party. You know, the trade-off they are making. There will be offer, counter-offer. There will be compromise. There will be give and take. What they are giving, what sometimes may need to be repackaged. Nigeria will say, yeah, everything is packaged. Yeah, it goes a long way. How you package your product goes a long way. So this thing that party A is offering party B, sometimes it will need the expertise of conflict manager to help them put it in an appropriate package to make it presentable to the other party and vice versa. So looking at each of them, one after the other, reach agreement on rules and procedures. We want to establish ground rules, such as where we meet, the venue, when we meet, the agenda at each meeting, the time we have for meeting. Okay, let's be meeting on weekends for 1 hour or for 2 hours. Let's meet after this service or after this event for 2 hours or for 1 hour. If we are not able to resolve it, we will schedule. All this must be clearly set out. The procedure of the meeting, the do's and don'ts. For instance, your phones must be on silence while you are meeting. You cannot interrupt someone when he has the floor to talk. Each of you will be given 15 minutes to first of all express yourself. While you're expressing yourself, you cannot abuse, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Just state the facts as they appear to you. These all are part of what you do as strategy 1, the first practical steps. When we reach agreement on rules and procedures, the agreement will be reached with the parties independently, and then when we bring them together, we remind them, we agree jointly on the conduct of the meeting. The second thing is to reduce tension and synchronize the de-escalation of hostility. You know, conflict goes with emotions, frustrations, anger, and so on and so forth. So to do this, sometimes we need to separate the parties involved. If it is a case of group conflict, sometimes we need to initiate discussion separately with the parties. In fact, most times you need to get them to agree for us to come in. If it's a case where you took the initiative to intervene, but if you are called by them, or you have some information towards your management, towards conflict management in the first place. We may need to break ice by cracking jokes during the meeting, but useful jokes to make people feel relaxed so that the atmosphere will not be tense. Through active listening, parties will be encouraged to do active listening, and then they will see that the other parties are humans as well. Because when we are in conflict many times, we quickly demonize and dehumanize the other parties. So by listening to them and seeing that they are also victims of certain things we are victims of, remind a party that the other party is also a human. When parties say they killed one So they killed somebody from another community. That may be the way the party that killed, the other party sees it. That may be the way the news sees it. But the community or the family where somebody has been killed is not like that. A father has been killed. A friend, somebody that has dreams, that has shared his dreams with people. So it's not just another statistics to the victim group. So when people and when groups listen and see how their actions affect the other group, it's part of the process of recovery and of managing or resolving the conflict. There will be need in certain situations for the parties to make public statements about their concessions, about their commitments to peace or to conflict management. I don't know whether it's Madam Nora or Madam Obosede that said this thing yesterday about the peace accord that was signed when it was in 2015, I guess, 2015, between major political parties. It was championed it was facilitated by the former head of state, Abdul Salam. When Nigerians heard that all the political party leaders, the incumbent, the president, the people that are vying for the position, they came together and said, we have signed that nobody will unleash their thoughts or unleash violence on Nigeria. Whatever the result of this, it had a calming effect on the whole society, on the Nigerian state. I strongly believe that that was one of the reasons there was not an outbreak of violence when APC won. I strongly believe that that also contributed to President Jonathan saying, I will not contest this result, which has made him, the people's, what do they call it? Is it something bride, the beloved bride or something of many international organizations. And the man is doing a wonderful job, mediating here and there, giving talks here and there. You see, that public declaration had significant positive effects on the Nigerian state, and that Nigeria is still existing today as we are. I think we owe it partly to that initiative. Okay, improving the accuracy of communication. We have said a lot about communication. People need to understand the other position. Sometimes, you see, the importance of communication cannot be emphasized, and that is why sometimes we have what we call dialogue among parties. Dialogue is not an attempt to manage conflict. Dialogue is just, let's come and talk. But it will lay the foundation for conflict management. Because when people listen, in fact, when they sit face to face with their enemies, and they see that these people have not grown horns or tails, as they have been imagining them, and they are drinking bottled water, not blood, as they have demonized them. This has. So sometimes parties have sworn, we will never, until over our dead body, this thing will never happen. We will never. Somebody is trying to, I think somebody is playing around with the apps. Don't play around the apps. Trying to play music. Please don't, just focus on what you are doing. Yes. I don't know whether you got there by mistake, but just leave your cursor from playing around. Thank you. So, dialogue is just to say, no, we are not trying to solve the conflict or settle, but just for you to talk. Many times, parties who have sworn never to see themselves face to face, they will agree to, okay, let's come and talk. And that let's come and talk will lay the foundation for, oh, I didn't know that I was only conscious of my own pains. I didn't know how my own actions were inflicting pains. Okay, let's come and look at the conflict. So in communication, we do things like role reversal. This leads to empathetic attitude, imaging, describing, that is how parties describe how they see themselves, how they see the other party, and so on and so forth. In fact, this can be used as icebreaker too, but we don't want to start with this at the beginning. But by the time you are taking them through some workshop, dialogue, you'll be saying that, you know, this is the way we used to see it. 5, controlling the number and size of issues in discussion. In any particular conflict, we may not be able to handle all the issues. We may not be able to handle all the issues. Sometimes we need to prioritize. We may not also be able to bring all the parties or all the members of a particular party. So we need to reduce the number of the parties. We need to control the number of issues we want to discuss, and we need also to search for different ways to develop the issues. Sometimes maybe in good conflict or communal conflict, we can have different committees addressing different issues. As in the committee or the subcommittee, we comprise people from all the parties, representatives of all the parties. Okay, you go and talk about this, go and address this issue. Give us your proposals or your suggestions on how to do the trade-offs. But this will be after the parties' capacity have been built on brainstorming, on joint problem solving, and so on and so forth, communication, and so on and so forth. Establish common ground where parties can find a basis for agreement. This is where your creativity comes in as a negotiator, as conflict manager as well. You can do this by establishing common goals or superordinate goals. For instance, in a communal conflict that we're involved in, we have this party say, we don't want people to be killing themselves. Why should people kill other people over land? And you have this thing from all the parties involved. So that becomes a common goal. So yeah, nobody wants anybody dead. So there's an agreement on no more killing. And establish common enemies. Common enemies here may not necessarily be physical, individual, or whatever. It may be something, maybe poverty, maybe insecurity. In a community where the fear of attack by herdsmen is preventing people from going to their bigger farms in the forest. Now everybody is now farming around in communities, leading to congestion and so on and so forth, and conflict. And now instead of killing ourselves, the major thing that is making this thing to happen to us is this insecurity. Why can't we all put our heads together to address it? So, the same way we establish common goals, we can identify common expectations. All of us want peace. Everybody wants security here. We want to go to our farms. Through this means, we are refocusing people's attention away from other parties. We are refocusing them to the issues rather than against the party. So we are trying to change the dynamics by moving the parties from attacking themselves to addressing or attacking, tackling the situation. We need to manage time constraints and deadlines. You know, I said earlier, we set ground rules about time, or we meet weekly for so number of hours at this place. We need to work towards those deadlines and constraints so that we don't leave the management, conflict management as an open-ended, ever-growing stuff. We reframe the parties' view of each other, we help them to do that, and through this process, we build trust among the parties. Finally, we want to repackage the options the parties are presenting. There is something we call caucusing in mediation, whereby we meet separately with the parties. So in managing conflicts at some point, we need to meet separately with each group to help them fine-tune their proposals, to hear things that they do not want to share at the larger scale. So the whole essence of this, as I've said, is to make offers more presentable for the other group. And it's part of your job as conflict manager. It may involve you having to research, to get data, to get facts, to support the offer being made and why the other party should take it and why the other party will do this. You will be doing it as a neutral person for both parties. You should not be seen to favor one party over the other. So these are the things, the 6 strategies we embark on when we want to manage conflicts in practice. You know, and it's important we use this to bring everything together in practical terms. Whereas we learned about conflict, about this, about that, but when it comes to managing conflict in real life, when it comes to managing conflict, these are the practical steps we take. I want to thank us very much for our attention so far. We are going to a break very soon, but I want to listen to our comments on this module 7, where we discussed dispute settlement, conflict resolution, conflict management, conflict transformation, and the practical strategies or steps we take in managing conflicts. Questions, clarifications, general comments are now welcome. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Oh, great.
Yes, sir.
So, any question or comments?
My question is on the issue of trying to control who or the scope or the number of people that could be involved while resolving a conflict. Assuming it's a communal conflict, and normally you know that everybody is interested, especially when it comes to land. So they will feel that if they are not part of that discussion after the whole thing, maybe a portion will not be given to them if the matter is resolved in their favor or the whole thing. So, and then maybe you have like 50-50 people and you say, please, I only need only 10-10 to reduce the number of people that will be in the discussion. If they refuse, what approach will you use again?
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. You see, you cannot bring the whole community to participate in a conflict. Communities usually have representatives. They usually have heads. What is important is that people representing the community are acceptable or must be chosen by the community. so that whatever decision they make on behalf of the community, they will be legitimate. The community will accept those decisions on their behalf. That's why we want to do community consultation. We want to talk to the rulers to give to you people who can represent them. The community cannot insist, or some people cannot insist, and it is not you as the conflict manager that will choose. It is the community that will select people. And now when the selection is made, you want to even check back with the community to be sure that these people are representative of them and that they have the power to make decisions such that we won't waste our time as conflict managers after we have spent days or months trying to resolve the conflict and you have reached agreement. This group takes agreement to the community and the community said, lie, we are not. Another thing that is important, which will make the people, the community to know, is that the group they are choosing have to be reporting back to the community at every stage. At the end of each session of meeting, they should go back to the community. It will not be their job to do town hall meeting if they want to, or they leave it to their leaders to make the decision. Sometimes they may want you to come and explain certain of the decision, certain part of the decision to the community as the expert holding it. Yes, you can go, but the community will choose the people who will have agreed how many people will be representative of the community, of which community. So equal number. And now I must also state this, when we do things like that, we must insist on women and youth being part of such committees. Women will bring the female perspective to it, which is always going to enrich the thing. If you're able to bring equal number of male and female, fantastic. But we don't want disproportionate number. Okay, you want to choose 6 people, you now bring 5 male and 1 female. No. And everybody coming must be playing particular role. You don't want to bring one drunkard, one palm wine tapper that doesn't have much authority or that does not represent the view of the society, of the community. So that is one. Secondly, on the issues, by the time you are doing consultation before facilitating the meeting, you'll have seen certain issues that need to be addressed. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of time to address all the issues. If you do, fantastic. But if you don't, you may need to ask the community for the priorities and then limit our conflict management exercise to those issues. Other issues can be treated later. But in this session of management, or in this cycle of conflict management involving many sessions, these are the issues we want to trash. Most often than not, if you do that that cycle very well, successfully, they want to invite us for other sessions. Thank you very much. Did that satisfy you, Mr. Emmanuel?
Yes. Thank you very much.
You are most welcome. Okay, I see your hand, Madam Nora. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Once again, I'll say I feel so fortunate to be part of this. This is an hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Yes, from this session, conflict transformation. Am I correct? Yes, conflict transformation. I can see that here collaboration would work, because when we are trying to, during a conflict management, during the conflict resolution and peace, of different parties, we know that we should know that there is an existing system that still functions. And tampering with any cultural value could be a kind of it could be seen as being disrespectful to those parties' value. So there is need for us to understand from what you have said. Am I right?
You are correct.
Thank you very much. So from what we have heard, this collaboration, I think, would do very well because it promotes understanding by engaging all in the dialogue. Everybody works together. It acknowledges the importance of cultural value and diversities, and it also recognizes the value of working together.
Yes.
So I think collaboration will do very well when working on a transformation. Thank you very much.
Very correct. Thank you very much for that intervention. Very, very apt. Very, very correct. Okay, you can lower your hand, and then I see Mr. Biodun, your hand is up. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof, for the journey since on Thursday. Indeed, it's an eye-opener. And of course, I will actually look forward to the next stage, if any. So I would want your thought on something. A case where we have, a case of a landlord and a tenant. The landlord is saying to the tenant, oh, woman, you have to pack out of my house. And the tenant, being a widow and with a daughter, says there's nowhere to run to. My business is not doing well now. And if I leave this place, there's nowhere. Nowhere is nowhere. Probably maybe from this place then to the other bridge. And the landlord is saying that, no, you know what, I don't want to give you additional month or additional week. I just need you out. And that indeed becomes a serious issue. How do we find a common ground here so that at least, for us to have, let me use the one win-win scenario, since it's not a matter of competition that one must win, one will lose. How? Let me hear your thoughts, sir.
Thank you very much for that question, Mr. Abiodun. It's not a difficult case at all. You will recall that we said that parties in a conflict, their issues can be broken into position, interest, and needs. What the landlord is saying is his position. Position is what people say they want. What the tenant, also the widow, is saying is a position. And we said that we cannot, in conflict analysis, we cannot resolve conflicts based on position. We have to go to the deeper level using onion model now. So I want to ask the landlord, why are you insisting? The landlord will say, it's because the woman no longer has the ability to pay rent. Another landlord may say the woman has become troublesome. You see, the landlord that says the woman can no longer pay, we know that his interest is rent, is money. The other landlord that says the woman has become troublesome, we know that his interest is peace. He wants peace in his place. Maybe the woman is a troublesome woman. We go to the widow. Why are you insisting on staying in this place? The widow may say, because I don't have money, just like you have said, to move to another place. We know that if we give the landlord money, or if we give him assurance through a third party guarantee, or whatever means, if you give me assurance that before so time, the money will be paid, the landlord is likely going to change his position. We now say something like that. It's because of you, and if not because you promised me that if she doesn't pay, you will pay. Now, that addresses the issue of, oh, I want her to be out because she can't afford. On the other side of the woman, what if we tell her, madam, what if I provide an accommodation, or are you aware that government can give you accommodation for so period of time? What if, you see, when we begin to create options for them, or even if the option will not even come totally from us, from their thoughts, the options will come. The landlord will say, in fact, if there can be, in fact, if the woman can tell me authoritatively, if I can have something, a concrete promise that I will pay it at also time, I will be patient. But the woman is not saying anything. She's just saying, I don't have money, I don't have money. You know that what the man needs is assurance, definite assurance. So that's why I said it's not a difficult case at all. By moving beyond positions to the interest level, to the level of need, you'll be able to understand why they maintain that position. And by listening to them and together with them generating options, we can offer solution to it. Sometimes, if the two of them if they don't mind coming together in mediation form, we bring them together, the two of them can even generate the options that will satisfy both of them. The man can say, okay, I understand the situation, and I can give you 3 months, and within 3 months, and the one will say, hey, 3 months, I will sort myself out in 3 months. But the man can say, this place, you know, the rent is high. I have other places that there are people are not even living there. You can go to one will say, so we can come up with creative solutions from listening to the people, or when we do what we call joint problem solving. We can facilitate joint problem solving through means by, things like reminding them of their past relationship. They have not been home before. Hey, it's true. If not that, our husband died, and me too have been trying to be patient, but I have to pay my children's school fees. That is the reason I'm saying this. And sometimes what party A needs, he may not know that party B can get it. For instance, let's say the case you have presented. Maybe the school that the landlord's children are going, they are the one putting pressure that he must pay if he wants his student to write exam. And during the joint problem solving session, you may find out that the mother, the widow, maybe her husband or she herself is a friend to the proprietor of the school. And she said, is that the problem? You see, communication. We facilitate the communication. If that is your problem, Baba landlord, I will talk to the proprietor. They will give you time. Say, really? You see, things like that have happened over and over again. When a conflict manager is able to make parties listen to themselves. But before parties will discuss to that level, you will have helped them to build a level of communication, a level of trust, for them to be vulnerable, and volunteer information, that will make them vulnerable. Me too, I have a need. They want to pursue my children out of school. These are not something people will ordinarily tell people they are expecting money from. But through the process of conflict management, we need to create that space where people are able to do that. You see, I say to people often that the human mind, has infinite potential to solve its own problem. But many times, agitations that we have in our mind because of external things is not making the mind to be settled enough to bring from its resources, the resources to solve these problems. But when conflict managers create that space, we see people coming out with creative solutions. Most times, every problem has in it its solution. The case you just said now, you just portrayed now, is similar to the case I described in my audio files between me and somebody occupying a shop on my property. I just needed the space. I needed somewhere to park my fish feeds. That man has been occupying that space since I bought the land, small shop on it. He was one that built it when he was doing it. Oh, people have told me I should pursue him. And I know that his wife was using the place. But I now needed a place to put feed. The natural thing is to pursue him and just park my things there. But I went to him because I wanted to have a good relationship with him as neighbors. I don't want to have a bitter neighbor that will now be people will be stealing something from my farm and it will just turn the other way, or all the stuff. And I explain. I open up to him. I have feed for fish. I want to keep it somewhere. And I said, is that it? I said, if you can provide. I said, he took me to about 3 places because he has houses there and he also is what do we call these people? I'll take caretaker. He said, you can keep it here, sir. You can keep it here, sir. That was how we resolved it. And I gave him another 1 year, more than 1 year. He stayed there until he built another shop for his wife. And we are friends till date. If somebody goes to my property, we call me, I noticed this, people are doing this, Eventually, I didn't use the spaces he provided. I had another space eventually. But before we resolved it, it was as if I don't get that place, as if heaven will fall. So, Mr. Biodun, I hope I have answered your question. Is it satisfactory?
Very well, Prof. Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Do we have any other question, or we go for our lunch now? For those of us just joining, I have said at the beginning that I do not see us extending today's class till 5 p.m. as planned, because we have fewer group activities than envisaged. So when we come back from break, anybody that still has presentation to make will have the opportunity to make it, especially presentation on activity 3 and 4. Activity 5 is a post-workshop activity. If your group has met and you want to say 1 or 2 things, it's not bad. But those one, activity 3 and 4, they are both individual and group activity. Some people, maybe 4 or 5 people have made their presentations. If you have done something or submitted, you want to present, opportunities there. So I will give you feedback on your presentations that we use to rework your assignment, and you can resubmit your assignment. So, but if you don't have anybody, if you have anybody, the opportunity will be there. Then we do the last session, which is very short. It's very short, do the last session, and then I will give us further information. So I want to say big thanks to you once again for the patience for sitting through this module. If there are no other comments to be made, I want us to go for our break. now. It's about 1 o'clock, and we come back by 2 o'clock. Hopefully, we should be able to wrap up everything from 2 to 3 or latest 3:30. Is that okay by us?
Yes, that's okay.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch. If you don't have lunch, just check your WhatsApp.
Bro.
Bye.